Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to our Freak Flag Feel Good, Fake It Till You Make It, Ric Flair, Woo! Football Friday live stream right here on On Texas Football. That's right, gotta get that Ric Flair woo out there. It always gets me going. Actually, might be one of the last football Fridays too, because the Super Bowl is this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that, get into it. Talk about how you got a couple of Longhorns, a few Longhorns playing in the Super Bowl, and actually one hoping to basically set a record or set a new standard for Longhorns in the Super Bowl. So we'll talk about that coming up. We'll also talk about Blake Gideon's replacement, of course, who is going to be on that short list of candidates to replace Blake Gideon. We'll continue that conversation. We're also going to dive into a couple of recruiting nuggets out there. We know you guys always like to talk recruiting, so we got a couple of recruiting nuggets. FanDuel put out their opening line for the first week of college football, Texas versus Ohio State. We'll dive into that a little bit as well. We got the Pro Football Hall of Fame announced their finalists as well, and the guys who will be the next class for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, man, Jeff wants to get into that, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. But, of course, you know how it works. You guys drive the show whichever direction you want to go. You guys can ask us any question, any comment you throw out there. We'll try to address as many of them as we can or answer as many of them as we can. Super Chats, jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. And joining me, I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, the estimable Jerry Hamilton, of course, and the newest member of the On Texas Football family, the man who needs no introduction, our own Jeff Howe. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing?
Terrific.
Awesome. I'm awesome, man. It's shoot, the sun's out. Not a bad day when the sun's out, man. You know, so you just got to go outside and look up, and feels good. The only thing I'm missing some palm trees. But hey, I think I'm going to go see some prospects in Florida late in the month. So I'm going to get my palm trees one way or the other.
Love it. I love that. No doubt. I always love when Jerry's on the road getting them nuggets. All right, gentlemen, let's kind of, start with the big story, and it continues to be the big story on the 40 acres as it relates to Texas football. Blake Gideon heading to Georgia Tech to be the defensive coordinator there, and who's going to replace Blake Gideon here on the 40 acres, and really how Sark approaches this hire. It could go a number of different ways. Could go with some old known commodities for the Longhorns. Could go in an entirely new direction. We know to trust in Sark at this point, though, Jerry, because he's done a great job whenever he's had to fill one of these positions because someone gets called to a promotion or to a better job offer. Sark's able to replace them with somebody who fits the culture and fits his vision.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I've said it before, but I think it's great for Blake, man. It's also great for Sark because you want guys that are in demand, right? I mean, Rick Barnes used to say, I don't want somebody that just wants to be a 30-year assistant. I want guys that want to move their way up the ladder and become head coaches. And look how many guys that Nick Saban had to churn through his coaching staff because guys were getting promotions, whether that's the coordinator, whether that's the head coaches. When you're successful, it's going to happen. And where I like Steve Sarkisian is, Jeff and Rod, is your point. I think he's proven that he is going out and making really strong hires. And sometimes he's upgrading those hires. And I'm not saying that's the case at safety. I'm talking the Chris Jackson hire, the Tashard Choice hire. It's no different than recruiting. Texas has really good players, but they might still upgrade. They may hit on the top 10 player in the country that you weren't expecting to at a defensive line position or something. So I trust Sark in this staff to make the right hires. I think he's with the Sexton. One of the things I talk about, guys, Sexton agency. Everybody talks about, who's their clients. They also have a built-in client list of up-and-coming assistants for their clients. So it's not just Sark out there just, looking at who he likes. Look, there's a lot of things that go through this process. Him and Jeff Banks, him and Johnny Nansen, PK Nansen. What do they think the best fit is for them? Well, Bobby was talking about this morning. We're past the day and age of, hey, we need this dynamic guy to recruit at safety because Chris Gilbert can go on the road now, right? You could conceivably hire somebody at the safety position that's more of a football coach in Austin than he is an on-the-road recruiter because you can hire a Nichols coach. See if there's any other changes at defensive back. So Scotty Hazelton, no longer there. There's going to be 2 hires, at least in the secondary. One of those guys may not ever be a road guy in recruiting. So the game has really changed. But the one thing we know is Sark is pretty good at putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, that's my thing, Jerry. There's a number of different ways you can attack it. I mean, I even thought of, hey, could Could you make Terry Joseph just the defensive pass game coordinator and then hire somebody to coach corners, hire somebody to coach nickels, and hire somebody to coach safety? I know that's asking a lot, and that's probably too many cooks in the kitchen, but the flexibility to have unlimited on-field coaches now, it opens up a lot of avenues. And yeah, you're right, Jerry. I'm not, especially in the day and age of NIL, I don't think the quote unquote rainmaker recruiter is a necessary thing anymore. I mean, it's you don't really, it doesn't have to be a requirement. I would rather have somebody that has really strong ties in the geographic area, even if it's somewhere in the state, a pocket of town in the state of Texas, or maybe like Mobile, somewhere like that along that I-10 corridor. Maybe it's Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, wherever. I'd rather get somebody that has strong ties to an area. And you could, like I said, you could go a number of different ways with the hire. Do you want to bring back a guy like, Ephraim Banda, a guy that's in the NFL now that's worked at Texas before, a Joey Thomas, a Henry Fernandez, guys that were pretty well respected when they were at Texas and QC analyst roles? Do you bring back a Dwayne Akina? Obviously you can get it wrong, Jerry, but there's a lot of ways you can get this hire right.
Yeah. Jeff, what you said is so important. Sorry, Rod. I wanted to make a point what Jeff said, because I think he hit on something. Long gone are the days of coach goes out and he has a specific recruiting area and he goes and hits every, like Matt Brown everybody walked through every door in Texas high schools in the 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A level. You didn't miss one every year. You went through them, almost 95% of them. That was the requirement, to go in, shake the hands, University of Texas, we're here for you, anything you need. If nothing else, and to hand out an invite to come down to the coaching clinic. Those days are gone. So connections are really important, because a lot of this is done through phone recruiting nowadays.
Yeah.
Identification of players. Then you send your guys to those spot recruiting areas. And so that, to what Jeff said, is very true. Because like Texas is recruiting Florida as hard as they ever have. They're not going to sift through 700 prospects with two position coaches. They don't have time to go to Orlando and hit 27 high schools in a week. Texas doesn't have that type of time to spend in Orlando. If you're a national recruiting program, you can't go to every high school. So it's very important now to have guys that have connections, just to know where the best players are. Mm-hmm. Not actually going out with foot traffic all the time and hitting school to school to school to school. That's not how recruiting's done anymore.
Especially, Jerry, it helps to have a guy like Terry Joseph work in Metro New Orleans, because TJ's been down there long enough, and I'm just using him as an example. He's been down there long enough and has enough connections to be like, you know what, head coach at this school, he's an LSU guy. We're not even going to waste our time there, because anybody that got's going to LSU. That's just one example, but yeah, it helps if the Tashard Choice knows, hey, this high school coach, he's a Georgia guy, or he knows he's got a connection to Kirby Smart. Yeah, those kids are going to Georgia, so we don't waste our time. That's the kind of stuff that's more important now more than ever.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that too. It's interesting because Sark just went different directions, right? It's hard to get a beat on exactly what his method is going to be in hiring. He doesn't really have a tendency. Sometimes we think he likes the NFL connection. It's obviously connections with other coaches on his staff back in their kind of early period of starting out coaching, or if they played together. Sometimes that is the case. Sometimes he's just kind of going to get the hot name. Brendan Marion was that. That's when he get the guy who can add, not only schematically something to us, but also is one of the fast risers in the coaching industry. So it's really tough to get I think kind of an idea of where Sark wants to go, because he's going successfully, by the way. He's gone in many different directions to build his coach staff. He doesn't really have a tendency on building coach staff. There may be something that stands out. Is there something, Jeff, in your mind, that more than others with these hires, that there may be a pattern of some sort that we have seen with the hires that he's made?
Other than Johnny Nansen, he tends to lean on the NFL connection, which tells me he's looking for guys that are really good teachers of the position that can really develop their guys. Yeah, and I think that's one of the first things he said. I think we just got to go back to when he was hired, that opening press conference. One of the first things he said was, "We want to be a great developmental program," and he knew from afar, like, you didn't need to be you didn't need to be that close to it to say, hey, Texas hasn't had a talent acquisition problem necessarily. They'd had a massive player development problem. The guys were coming here and weren't getting any better. That's why you look at the number during that lost decade. Look at the number of guys that came to Texas as highly recruited guys, did not get drafted, yet had lengthy NFL careers as undrafted free agents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have to name, like, you can go back and look at them. We know who they are. Sark was well aware of that. And I think getting guys, like I said, that are really good. That's why, Rod, I think he probably he miscalculated on Andre Coleman, but I think it's probably because he trusted Andre as a teacher of the position.
Right.
Obviously, I think Andre had some issues in recruiting, but that's neither here nor there. Like we said, it's a different ball game. But at the end of the day, I think he wants really guys that can put player development at the forefront. And that also goes back to recruiting, kind of what Jerry was saying. It's not necessarily about how much you're seeing. It's about how good of a relationship can you build with guys. Because if you're going to develop somebody, that means you got to coach them hard. I mean, if you're going to coach guys hard, they got to be able to trust you. They got to know you care. It's that old thing. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I think that's so. I think teachers and guys that are good relationship builders is what Sark looks for.
All right, good stuff, guys. All right, let's get a question in, or a few questions in, but the super chat first. Thank you, Longhorns. We appreciate it. It says, Rod, with all the emphasis on wide receiver speed, how important is it for DBs to be just as fast, or is technique or other physical attributes more important? That's going to be because I can't wait to see what Janae Barron runs, actually.
Me too.
I'm really excited to see what he runs, because he may be one of the ones locked in horns that you were kind of talking about, maybe the latter end of that because I don't know if he's going to be really fast. I think he'll be fast. I mean, he's a Thorpe Award winner, so he can run with any wide receiver in the country, but it's not all about that. I remember playing for the Detroit Lions. One of my favorite DBs all time in college and the pros, Dre Bly. Love me some Dre Bly. Love Bliss. And Blizz, by the time I got there, Blizz had the dad bod already. Loved it. He has, it just didn't look like he was, that elite corner that I knew him to be. And I watched Dre Bly run with Randy Moss, like on post routes and things. And I thought to myself, that's crazy. How does that happen? And it's because not only, yes, he was a great athlete, but Randy Moss was one of those freaks because he understood angles, he understood route combinations, he understood, the situational football, right? Alignment assignment, down distance. He could, probably better than anybody I knew at the NFL level, he was really great at being able to kind of diagnose routes before they actually end up developing. There were a lot of times it looked like he was jumping routes. And Janae Barron did this a lot too, guys. You remember there were some games where he would get out of his break before the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, and you could say, like, well, maybe he's reading the hips of the receiver, and when the receiver drops. I was looking at it, and I remember, maybe it was the Arkansas game. It was there's a few of those games where he would get out of his break, and actually they either would try to they would come close to flagging him, or people would want to flag because he really would get to the point before the receiver did. And I think that he is really quick getting out of his breaks, but I think a lot of that is film study and preparation and him knowing based on this formation, this personnel grouping, this situation, second and medium. When I get twins to this side, I think I call him a football investigator. I think he is diagnosing clues and deciphering clues pre-snap. And then I just think he's very confident. And there's no hesitation when the ball is snapped that, oh man, I know exactly what they're going to run. And sometimes, like I said, he'll run the route for the receiver or be out of his break before the receiver's out of their break. So Longhorn, I would say that if I'm recruiting, I'm looking for the speed.
Yes.
Because I can't take a chance on a guy that, he is going to develop that football acumen and IQ to be able to run with elite explosive athletes because he understands angles to the football and understands leverage very well and has really good technique. I can't take that chance. So in recruiting, you have to go for some of those elite traits. But every now and again, and there's a guy, Quandre Diggs is kind of one of those guys.
Perfect example.
And you go, dude, he can just play. He can just ball. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't remember what Quandre ran in the 40. I know it probably wasn't super fast, but anybody who watches the film, Jerry, they go, well, he can play ball. Like there's no doubt he can play. So even if he doesn't fit the mold and he doesn't have all the elite traits that you covet, sometimes you can set all that to the side and go, no, he's a player. He's a player. I'm hoping that if I was this day and age, Jerry, if I was a player, that Sarkman would look at me and go, nah, he ain't as tall as we like. He don't have some of the raw things that we like as a player, but damn, he can play ball. He can just cover. We want that guy.
Hey, Rod, to your point, I want to read some of Dre Bly's because this would stand the test of time. Then it's why he went in the second round. Now he would even go in the second round. This is how under the Mendoza line he was. This is from the NFL Combine. 5'9" and 7/8, too short. 186 pounds, that's okay. 30 and an eighth arm inch, too short. 9 and an eighth inch hands, right on the Mendoza line for a corner. 4.51 below the Mendoza line.
Yeah, exactly.
4.09 shuttle, he's close. 7.10 L cone, probably a little below the Mendoza line. 9'8" broad jump below the Mendoza line. Vertical jump 34.5, way below the Mendoza line. Like there's nothing when you looked at him that said that guy's going to be a 10-year starter in the NFL. Other than a guy was an instinctive ball player.
Yep.
And he could we talk about it. Instincts always – Dat Win was one of those guys, right? Dat Win was 5'10", 230, and ran 4.68.
Yep.
Dat Win instinctively was as good as you'll see at linebacker, right? I mean, so nowadays, though, to your point, Rod, if Dre Bly showed up at Texas camp in June, coin flip if he gets offered.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's the same reason. The classic example I like to use. There's a reason why Mikael Thompson was drafted higher than Quandre Diggs, but Quandre has lasted much longer in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like if you put in the underwear Olympics, Mikael Thompson, and I love Quandre. I love both those guys. Mikael Thompson kills Quandre in the underwear Olympics. Mikael Thompson's 6'2". He's 190 pounds. He was a 25, 26-foot long jumper in high school. Just he can run. I think he was an open 200 guy. And you look at Quandre, and it's kind of going to sound a lot like what Jerry just read off with Dre Bly. But at the end of the day, again, there's a reason why Mikael lasted a couple years, got him a couple years in the league, and Quandre's still making money.
And Rod was playing or wrapping up around – he was still playing. I think you were still playing around this time, Rod. But have you ever heard Texas almost didn't even offer Quandre? They offered him late. I literally I won't say that story, but he was about to go to Oklahoma or Florida. Can you imagine if Quandre had gone to Oklahoma because Texas didn't offer him? Now Florida was in it because Jam picked Texas over Florida. Jam really liked Florida, but it was too far away from home.
I can see that. Yep.
Jerry, what I remember about Quandre getting that OU offer was he had gone to the Texas Junior Day on the Saturday.
Yes.
And then Coach Vanover at Angleton, everybody started calling on Monday when Quandre came back from Texas uncommitted. And Coach Vanover told me one of the first calls he got was for Bob Stoops. And he said, I don't know where Texas wants to play him, but I'll have him between somebody's goalpost scoring touchdowns for me. He's like, he will play wherever he wants to at Oklahoma.
He was so upset about that. Even when he got on campus, apparently there are a couple of times in practice where he laid a guy out or made some plays on the ball, and he would talk trash to the coaches. That y'all didn't want to offer me. Y'all offered this guy over me. Like he would throw that out there in practice and talk trash to the coach. Coaches were like, "Is he talking to us?" Like, I think he's talking to us. Like he was just he used that chip on his shoulder. He kept it the entire time. That is a true story that Quandre told me. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like Quandre right there. And that's when they knew they had a dog. It's like, oh, we got a dog. You probably should have just gave that guy an offer. Sometimes you got to look past the metrics and the measurables, man, and just go with a ball player. David Q. Williams, as an employee of UNC Charlotte, one of my duties is reviewing a weekly loss report. I noticed both Tim Brewster and Dre Bly on that report recently. They were both previously UNC Charlotte coaches. Yeah, I don't know where. Thank you for that, David Q. Williams. Now, we talked to Brew recently. I know Brew was moving on. Did somebody say they know? I thought I heard Brew might have found a spot, but I haven't confirmed that.
I don't know on Dre, but after he he parted ways after he left North Carolina, went to the NFL, right? And then that didn't work out. He was at Charlotte as an analyst last year. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. We'll see where he ends up.
Yep. I'm not sure. Brew will end up somewhere. Brew might already have found a spot. I got to reach out to Brew anyway. But thanks for that, David Q. Williams. We appreciate it. All right, let's get to another super chat here. Mix with Jerry. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. It says, Rod, what is proper technique for a DB covering receivers downfield? At what point should they turn their head around? And is that something they practice, turn into a wide receiver once you see it's a go route? This is a great question. I'm not going to go deep into the weeds on this. Okay, so first of all, kind of working, kind of back through this question here from the back to the front here. When you notice it's a go route. So I learned it from Kyle Shanahan, actually. You got to learn in your head. You have to do it mentally, how to cancel routes. And based on how far upfield you've canceled certain routes, right? Once you're past 6-7 yards, it's not going to be a hitch. It's not going to be a slant. It's not going to be a quick out. You start canceling routes in your head. And by the time you get past, I would say it's got to be like 13 to 14. Now, some quarterbacks you prepare for, they can throw an 18-yard out.
Yeah. All
right. You may have to worry about it. Now, NFL, you always got to worry about it. College, every quarterback can't do that. Especially like the far hash or the far, from like the, far hash into the far sideline. They can't do that. So based on prep, you ain't got to cover everything with every quarterback because they can't make every throw. But usually around 15 yards, we going. It's gonna be deep stuff from there. It's gonna be a 9 route. It's gonna be a post route. It's gonna be a post corner. About now. There are some in the NFL, like I said, not in college, and Sark does this an 18-yard curl on you. Remember, Sark was doing that at one point. He did like 18-yard curl, just max protect, and because Quinn can throw it if you give him time. And then that, I'm like, well. Ain't no college DBs can cover that because they thinking they had, hey, at 18.
They're already bailing. They've already bailed mentally, right?
Because Xavier Worthy, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Right? So that, like I said, you got to do your research, all right? And then if you got a deep end cut, so like a deep 6 route, but usually, like I said, college, you ain't gonna get no 18-yard end cut like that. That's huge. That's gonna be, they're not throwing those usually. That's a dangerous throw at the college level. But NFL level, that's an NFL throw. You got to cover that. So usually around 15 to 16 yards, Rob B, I'm turning and I'm trying to secure that hip, right? That inside hip of that receiver. I can get right on that inside hip. And if I do it, that means I'm what they call in phase. I'm in phase. That means I'm in a position. I've secured the receiver in a position to play the ball. If I am in phase, then I can turn what Ken call the look and lean. I'm gonna lean on that receiver because I got that hip. I'm gonna lean on it. All right, I'm leaning on that hip, and I can mess with him with this arm because I'm looking back for the ball. All right, so as long as I keep it low, if I get it high, I'm in trouble. I keep it low around that hip, man, you can do all kind of stuff to receivers. So I'm keeping it low, and I'm leaning, looking back for the football. All right, now I didn't really do that a lot. That's the way ideally I want to play the deep ball. I would play the eyes. I play the eyes. I look at the eyes because I'm playing bump and run a lot of the times. And if you're playing off, you still got to, cancel out routes. You're playing bump and run. You got to do it from a press position. And sometimes it's tough. Guy stacks you. Stacking means he gets on top of you. All right. That means I'm out of phase. So if I'm out of phase, then I can't be looking back for the football. It's going to slow me down. If I'm out of phase, I got to play the eyes. I got to play the hands. And in the NFL, they actually have drills where they flash the hands, right? They flash them. Because they want to put it the last second because they know guys are reading the hands. DBs are, and they do the same thing with the eyes. They train you in the NFL to keep your eyes like either on the DB and with your periphery at the last second go up and get it. Crazy freaky stuff. That's why Robbie didn't make it in the league. I wouldn't know that level. All right. So if you're playing the eyes and you're playing the hands, if you're out of phase, and then you got to wait for him to get those hands up, and then you want to shoot through those hands. You got to be close enough to do it. You shoot through the hands. Or you can play the eyes. And most wide receivers' eyes get real big when that ball's coming, man. It's crazy. You can see it and you're like, whoa, that ball coming. Why are your eyes getting so big? Now you get a freaky stabby wide receiver, like Jordan Shipley. He may do that on you and then start burning off on you. Like Jordan Shipley told me, you should set up DBs with stuff like that. That's next level. That's why he's the GOAT. So that's really how you approach it. You want to cancel out the routes in anticipation of the deep ball. That's really how you do it. But other than that, like I said, in the first part of the question, I think your technique. I play a lot of press. Your technique has got to be on point. The downfield, that's how you do it, but that starts at the line of scrimmage. That starts early. If you get out of position early, that's what we talk that makeup speed that we're looking for. That's when you need it. Then if a guy like Dre Blau, a guy like Quandre Diggs is way out of position, see you later. Yeah. So there's some freaks, it don't matter. They can catch up to you. Gideon was like that. Gideon didn't matter. Catch right up to you. You got to know your speed. If you're a freaky speed guy, you got time. You got makeup speed. If you ain't got makeup speed, your technique better be on point. You better not be loose with that.
Hey, Rod, one thing I wanted to ask you, because so many people, Cade Phillips, we're going to watch this with Cade Phillips, right? 6'1.5", 6'2" corner. You said play the hip, hand on the hip. It's hard for those tall corners to do that sometimes.
It is. Yep. Yeah.
So that's some of the things we watch nowadays with the taller corners, man. It's hard. It's hard if you're a 6'2", 6'3" corner to have hand on hip all the time, right? On those guys. You feel like you're giving up some balance, I have a feeling, when you're taller and you're leaning a little bit. So it's kind of tricky for those guys, right?
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Now you can't, like I said, you can't be out off balance, right? When you're doing that kind of stuff, especially as a big guy. But man, Cade Phillips gets in for a guy who's long and rangy. He gets in and out of his breaks violently. Yes. Like he gets in and out of them. That's a big thing too, man. For a DB, you want somebody that can get in and out and break quickly. But you're right. The longer corners, I prefer that. But long corners, I tell them to use the elbow.
Right.
Use the elbow. You ain't got to do like me. Because your elbow is powerful. You can, once I get it, boom, and I can use that elbow to kind of pin them to the sideline. But not enough guys use the sideline.
Hey, Rod, that's a great point. You're not going to get as many calls if you use your elbows versus your hands. Your hands create the flags.
Yeah, they do.
It's just like in basketball. Your elbow.
They might. Trust me. If you be surprised, you can. Yeah. Hey, you be telling your corners to wear them elbow pads down. You look ugly, but what what he's doing out there, man.
What I compared to Rod, what I know about secondary play would fill a thimble, but that is one thing I remember from being a young kid growing up. Corners were always taught, DBs were always taught, you've got a 12th defender. It's the sideline. The sideline is your extra defender. Yeah. And Rod, that's why, like, when I see guys bail in not necessarily a high red zone, but closer to the goal line, when you're bailing or you're playing outside why are you going to play outside leverage? Even if that's the call, your football instincts have to tell you this is dumb. I got to override the call because I'm going to giving up a 7-yard slant means you're giving up 6 points.
Yep.
At that point. So that's what when it comes to DB play, it's just some of that stuff like red zone goal line that just drives me nuts.
They stopped that this year though.
Yeah.
They were doing some of that a couple of years ago. And it's like, that's nonsensical. That technique doesn't match the coverage. Like, why would you bail and just give up the inside leverage? They stopped a lot of that stuff. And they started playing situational football now, third and sticks. So I just love what they did in the secondary this year, man. Great improvement. All right, let's get to more of the questions. How about this one for you, Jerry? Randy wants to know, Jerry, can you tell us more about Trenton Henderson out of Pensacola Catholic?
Yeah, the edge, 6'4" and change, 225. A guy that Texas offered early in January when they hit the road. He's exchanged some messages with CJ and I think he plans on getting to Texas this spring. That's the hope with any of these guys. I'll answer this as well with Tristan Keys, the receiver from Mississippi, and Derek Cooper, the running back from Hollywood, Chaminade, Madonna there in South Florida. The whole thing Texas is looking for with these guys is I wouldn't worry about if any official visits released or a top schools list right now, because we're in February 7th. What Texas wants is these guys to get on campus this spring and see, could this be a fit? Then if this can be a fit, we'll work through changing up some official visit dates, and we'll get you out here in June. But that's the whole key is, like, could Texas have gone in and when the day they offered Tristan Keys and got an official visit? Yeah, they probably could have got an official visit date. He's tight with KJ Lacey, and he's tight with Diabell. The kid's never been on campus. His family's never been on campus. Texas wants him to come on campus this spring, and guys like this. And is this a fit? Sark wants to meet these guys. Is this a fit? Both sides may deem it's not a fit. Jamie French didn't. We talked about this morning. sorry to be long-winded on the answer, but I think it's going to matter in these recruitments people are asking about. Is last year's signing, the 25 class was ranked number 1. Jamie French didn't come on campus until the spring. Justice Terry was late. Sharma and Charles weren't until the spring. Grayson Littleton wasn't to the spring, and Texas didn't offer him then. It was late in January December, January when he got offered, November when he got offered. But you can go down. There's 2 or 3 others on this list, on that class list as well, that they never made it to campus until the spring. So that is kind of the goal for Texas. They offered 4 D linemen in Charlotte. We'll see if 1 or 2 of those guys gets on campus in the spring. If they don't, then those offers don't go anywhere. It doesn't mean Texas changed their mind on how good the kid is, but it just didn't materialize, go anywhere. The same thing with some of these offers in Georgia, right? I mean, so they're going to see if they can get these kids on campus, and then based on that visit, you know what? If Jamie French's mom had said, "Nah, too far away from home. I like it, but it's just not my fit," that recruitment would have been over. So I think that's the key for Texas is they want these kids to get on campus with family members, see, okay, after this visit, where are we at? Do we think we should move forward with this process? If we think we can move forward with this process, let's line up an official visit. Now, that's different with the kids who have been on campus for, like a Xavier Crowell, the running back that reclassed from 27 to 26 out of Jackson, Alabama. He's been on campus twice. He was on campus last spring, summer, and then he was back for a game this season. I saw him at Bergstrom Airport the same game day that I think it was Georgia game. Justice Terry and Javion Hilson, Myron Charles, all those guys came in. So he's been on campus multiple times. So, yeah, they're going to schedule him for an OV. Amari Latimer's been on campus. They'll schedule him for an OV. But some of these guys that have been offered and never been on campus, that's why I say until they get to campus, the shot is 0 if they've never been before. Once they get to campus, then the recruitment really starts. So that's going to be the key. And where I think Texas is they have the ability to get more kids on campus than they ever have. That means that gives them the ability to truly evaluate not just the tape and the school stop, but the fit when they get to Austin. Because I say all the time, Nick Saban turned down as many 5 stars as he signed.
Yeah. That's a wild little stat there. They turned down because they didn't fit, right? It's about compatibility. Yep. Jeff Banks talks about that all the time.
I'll back up Jerry's point on Nick Saban because I've heard from enough parents over the years that they go in to meet with Nick Saban and, you start talking about, let's say, academics. And he's like, well, what do you want to major in? Well, I want to major in such and such. All right, then I don't think Alabama's the place for you. And the parents are like, what? He's like, if you want to major in that, that's great. But I don't think Alabama's the right fit for you.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's like Jerry said, I think some people would be surprised at the number of guys that Nick Saban either backed off of or probably wasn't too upset when they went somewhere else.
Hey, by the way, I got to bring this up. I'm jealous. Randy Bobandy, he's going to Floribama tomorrow night. Have y'all ever been to Floribama? They're on the Florida-Bama line there on Gulf Shores area.
No.
It's Perdido Key. It is the best sports bar, and they have music. Well, it could be country, it could be whatever, but it's the best place ever to go watch college football. It's right in the heart of SEC country. I was down there a couple of years ago, 2 weeks after Texas beat Bama, and there were literally fans from about 8-9 different SEC schools in there mucking it up during the games. They have 3 different stages where there's live music. It's one of the coolest places I've been. That's also sports barish along with college football watching. Really good.
There you go. See, Jerry dropping recommendations for you too in case you're in the area. Floribama, is that the name of it?
Floribama in Perdido Key.
All right, I'm gonna have to check it out if I'm ever in the neighborhood. Justin with the super chat here. Justin wants to know. Thank you very much, Justin. We appreciate it. Can y'all go over any safety coaching search updates? I'm working nights this week. So this is my coffee and football. Am I wrong to think Huff is the guy? Listen, Huff is easily, thank you, Justin, for the super chat. We'll discuss it. Huff is easily the most popular choice among Longhorn fans. And thank you guys for here. I've seen some of these super chat talking about Rod B for the coach, and I appreciate that. Not as qualified as Huff Daddy, but I appreciate you guys showing me some love. And no, I've not gotten the call yet. But if I do get the call, I would heed the call. Thank you, Brandon.
As you should.
Yes, I would heed the call. But what are you guys' thoughts? First of all, Huff, like I said, he put out a tweet that's saying that there's something brewing, something going on. Could be related to the coaching search. Could be, related to. Could be about something entirely different. We just don't know. But Huff knows what he's doing because he got a lot of people talking to him, and then some of his brothers from his 05 secondary also chimed in on it. Is that real? Is that something that we should realistically be discussing, Huff Daddy? Because I'm not saying it can work. I think it could work, but that was kind of a pie in the sky, it seems like, idea for a lot of Longhorn fans.
There's so many layers with him because he's done well in life monetarily, right, through NFL and personal business. So he's got a lot of outside things businesses he already has, right? Yeah. He already pretty much is a semi-coach, right? Let's call it that. He's already coaching guys.
Yep.
So there's a lot of layers with that. You stay in the role you're in, keep doing what you're doing, and you're not part of the outside of Austin recruiting process. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sark puts this thing together because, like we talked about earlier, there's going to be a safeties coach. There's going to be a nickels coach. We'll see if Terry Joseph's back at corners coach or not. We haven't heard for sure one way or the other, right? We just know he had a final 1 year on his contract. He did not get the longer extension that other guys got in the offseason, right, Jeff?
Right.
So till Texas announces something, you got to say what's going to happen there. And that would be around late February, March, I would think. So it could be earlier. I'm just saying with college coaches, a lot of that stuff is March 1st. Their buyouts go down, whatnot. Some coaches have already done their extensions at Texas. It just hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
So we'll have to see what happens there. But how does Sark put it together? Could you have and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying if Huff went to Sark and said, I want to do it, but I don't really want to go to 8 schools in Atlanta and 7 schools in Tampa and recruit. Could you make it work? Yeah, you could hire you could have Chris Gilbert go do a lot of that. Now, at some point, you do have to get on the road, right? So it's always interesting because it comes up with TJ Ford around Texas basketball. And I always say, look, the hard part of the job is not the coaching part. The hard part of the job is the 11:30 recruiting call.
Yep, exactly.
And when you've done really well in life and you have other interests going on, do you really want to be making the 11:30 recruiting calls, taking the call that's going to decommit? You got to talk about a decommit at 11:45 p.m. a week before signing day. But now with so many coaches being able to be on staff, but also on the field, and then you're able to change it up who's on the road. We saw it with Chris Gilbert, how valuable he is on the road. Everything's on the table, but a lot of it will come down to if Huff went to Sark and said, I want to do it, he'd probably do it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, Jerry. I think I don't think his role has to change all that much for him to be effective and for this staff to maximize him. In other words, similar to TJ, I'm glad you brought TJ up because I think those guys, it's not necessarily the security, but I think those guys like being in the mentorship,
yes,
mentoring young men, molding young minds kind of role, where as Huff, you can still do that, but can you do that as much if you're the safeties coach as you can in your player development job right now?
No, you can't do it. Yeah, it's a great point. It really, you're right. That's a great point, Jeff. I agree with you on that too. That's a different role. It's a different trust factor in that locker room that he has with the guys, which I'm sure the coaches like because they were like, hey, man, I'm sure there are certain guys that he gravitates towards that he's maybe trying to help with certain situations. I didn't think about that. And that's what Coach Shipley actually said that. Coach Shipley said he should be in like the player development role.
Yeah.
Because that's basically kind of what he's doing now. Yeah. Mentoring some of the guys and stuff like that.
And I know I can tell you this because I know somebody that's been there. In the interest of full disclosure, Barrick Neely's on the Texas State staff. He's a good friend of mine. We've known each other forever. Barrick was doing that at UTEP, and he was in that player development role. And it was one of those deals. His desire was to be on the field.
Okay, yeah.
But and he's a position coach now. But that's not everybody's. That's not those guys that are in those roles. They're not doing it as a stepping stone to being on the field. They like being in that role because they feel like not only am I fulfilled, but I feel like I am helping the organization the most in this role.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's good. I agree with you 100%. Speaking of, I'll just throw out there, I threw Coach Akina out there. I still think I don't know anything. I'm not breaking any news, but my suggestion would be Coach Akina, because Coach Akina has deep roots at Texas, still one of the best DB coaches in the country. I believe now he's just a DB coach at Arizona. He was D coordinator. That was a demotion of some kind. So he's just a DB coach there. He'd be a DB coach at Texas.
He's a heck of a Nichols coach.
Just throwing it out there. Now everybody knows I'm a big fan, but I think Coach Akina will be great. How about this one from Kenny Joe? Says, what about Will Harris from Florida? This name has come up multiple times.
Yeah, look, he's one of the guys that's worked with PK before. He recruited Xavier Filsaime to Florida. I think he was involved on some level on the Wardell Mack recruitment, even though that was mainly Billy Napier and Corey Raymond and Jabbar Jalouk. But he was involved in that on some level on the peripheral. So, I mean, that one wouldn't be if his name became a hot one, that wouldn't be crazy out of this world for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, just from a recruiting standpoint, in the ties standpoint, that one's not nuts.
Yeah. No, I've seen it a couple of times from a lot of fans here. I asked this the other day. Joe Z says, am I crazy for wanting Gary Patterson back? I don't know what GP is doing. I don't know but I assume he's doing whatever he wants to do, because there's certainly a lot of staffs around the country that would love him to be on in some capacity. Texas could be one of them. So I know he's a DB guy, Jeff. So
yeah,
I would hope that at least Sark would text him like, "Hey, GP, just checking in. What's up? You got any interest?" I don't know if he wants to be a position coach again. That's asking a lot of a Hall of Fame guy like GP. I know it.
Yeah. Once you put your initials on a title list, you're pretty much done unless you're a head coach.
He's making
once you go to the link to ordering your own title list with GP or your initials on them, you're pretty much full-time golfer unless you get a head coaching job.
Right? Yeah. And doesn't he make music now too? He make it to music and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's I do know this. I know look, his mind may have changed, but I know when he was thinking about taking the analyst role at Texas, the idea of helping Texas get ready for the SEC and being involved in that build process was something that really intrigued him, really excited him. He had no interest apparently in being a position coach at that time. And I know at least two power conference defensive coordinator jobs he turned down, one of which would have been a pretty high profile gig. But he's in a position where, Jerry, you and I might have talked about this. Like if he was at Texas, he'd be more interested in, hey, let me game plan during the week and then let me go hang out in Wimberley in the cabin and write music on the weekends, and then I'll come back when you need me on Sunday.
Yeah. No, I get that. Now just worth the try. Just worth the try. All right, let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery before we move on. Got some more questions, super chats to get to. Our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, folks, they're home of one of the most awarded wines in Texas, and actually it's the vineyard closest to Austin. We're actually just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine, Super Texan. My wife's a big fan of it. We've actually had some Super Texan. There still may be some Super Texan in there. It doesn't stay in there for long because she loves it. All right, it's just that good. You can find it now at your local Specs, but also they have a display at your local Central Market. I saw it there, so I'm glad the good word is getting out about our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. The rosé is very refreshing. The Pinot Grigio is good, but the Super Texan, folks, it is out of this world. And of course, not only is Flat Creek Estate producing some of the best premium wines on the market, but also it's a gorgeous venue for barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. As a matter of fact, we had a member of the Owen Texas football family recently get engaged out there at Flat Creek Estate Winery. So just a testament to the great ambiance and such a fantastic venue for any and every occasion. Reach out to them today at flatcreekestate.com. All right, let's get back to the super chats here. How about this one from, this comes from Catch the Wave X. Thank you. Thank you, Catch the Wave. Says, just encouraging Rod B to apply for an analyst role under Sark as the team's self-scout lead. I would love that. That would be a good role. Just basically just watch the team all day long and tell you how you think teams are going to attack you and things that you should work on and how to improve in different areas. Oh, that would be fantastic. You know what, Catch the Wave? I'll see. They got to post everything. All right, it's a public university, so they got to post it. We'll see if I can find the sometimes you can find the listing and everything. I don't know exactly where you're going. I'm sure it's like on the UT website somewhere. So if I find it, Catch the Wave, or probably if somebody going to send it to me soon, I will apply. How about that?
I was going to bring this up as a joke with Gary Patterson, but he's still Muschamp is still with Georgia in an analyst capacity. So he what Muschamp does, but look, they have a lake house down there. But what Muschamp does is he's pretty much a Monday through Thursday guy at Georgia, analyst, kind of maybe helping with a game plan here and there, a film breakdown of past game, opponents, all that stuff. And then while his son's playing at Vanderbilt, they go to Vanderbilt games. He was photographed somewhere around, I think, with Vanderbilt gear on when Vanderbilt built Alabama. But his son's at Vanderbilt. So I think him and Carol have wanted to kind of enjoy the kids while they're in college. So, and he's made plenty of jack.
Yep. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
He wasn't that far off from taking the Texas DC job when Sark got the hire. It wasn't as far off as people thought it was, but I think with both kids, one kid was at Georgia at the time, the next one in high school, I don't think they wanted to relocate. I think that now they have friends in Austin. They come to Austin occasionally, but I don't think they really wanted to relocate again at that time and go full speed.
Hey, a lot of these decisions, man, people don't know. Wifey, that's the fact that we don't talk enough about. His wifey and the family, and then the kids and the school they got to get into, and the school district. And we don't talk enough about it, but trust me, it's a big factor. Yeah. All right, let's get to another. Lonnie Love.
So Rod 0-0.
Zero. What?
That's why you're 0-0.
That's why gotta think about those things. All right. It's only been 2 years, Jerry, but I'm thinking about it, man. Constantly. All right. I waited till 40 to get married, so trust me, I should be wise now beyond my years. Lonnie Love, thank you for the super chat. What players do you see currently as our explosive return specialists, and do you see special teams improving or being an area of struggle? Jeff, I'll throw this one to you.
So I think with having Bomeister in as a punter, I think that'll automatically help your special teams. I think you've got enough big skill guys because your linebackers, running backs, tight ends, those guys are typically going to be the guys that fill out your teams. You've got enough big skill and enough guys with good size speed ratios. Your coverage units should be among, if not the best in the country. So I don't worry about that with Texas. My thing is you need to have an open kicking competition this spring. And I think probably whoever loses that, you're probably going to have one portal out because I don't think one's going to stay to back up the other. As far as the return game, it's an interesting year because you're pretty much starting from scratch, because all your depth, whether it was Golden, Bond, Jaden Blue, just go down the list, all those Silas Bolden, all those guys are gone. So that's something starting day one spring ball. That's something they've got to think about. Now, a guy like Aaron Butler that we don't necessarily see, could he break through into the two deep? Maybe not, but could he have enough of an impact or show the coaches enough as a return guy for them to say, hey, maybe you want to stick around because you can be our primary punt returner or our primary kick return guy or whatever.
Your sleeper in the return game, Jonah Williams.
Ooh.
Jonah's pretty gifted in the return game. And could you see, but he doesn't lack confidence. He's like Silas Bolden. Could you see a 6'3", 210-pound punt returner where instead of you got to be the jitterbug to make the first guy you miss, you run through the full speed tackle?
Wow.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that, Jerry? The baseball background. The baseball background makes
tracking balls. He's tracked balls over his shoulder his whole life, Jeff.
Ooh, I like that. And I can tell you as a gunner, that's hell. Because I'm trying to just get down there and just get a piece of them. And I know I ain't got to make a sound tap. I just got to get a nice piece of them. And I'm coming with such velocity and so fast, I'm going to knock them off his feet. Because usually they're like 5'10", 5'11". Yeah. Give me a 6'2", 6'3" dude back there with that kind of size. That could be a problem. I like that.
And maybe not later in his career, but freshman year. Might make some. I bet he gets a tryout at kickoff and punt return. See what happens.
Oh, Jerry, that gets me. That's titillating right there. Jose with a super chat. Thank you, Jose. He says, Jerry, is there an early player on the all Jerry team that is under the radar and that you are hoping that Texas offers in 2026? Man, the all Jerry team. All right, is that first of all, where is it, and is it a real thing, and where can I find the previous all Jerry teams?
There's not one, but that's actually a good idea.
That's a great idea. I'm interested right now. Like, I want to see that all Jerry team.
I might do that one. I like that one. I'm going through the list here in Texas. In Texas, is there a guy? Man, Texas. I think Texas has done a really good job. If there's a guy that this spring on the track forces his way into contention, Jaden Moore, and the receiver at Iowa Colony. He's been to a couple of Texas games before. He hasn't been heavily recruited by Texas. 6'2", about 180. If he pops a 10-4 like they think this spring in the 10-4s, that's a trajectory changer for him. That would be one. Down in Jeff's area, what's interesting about Jeff's area is there's a receiver named Henry Harris at San Marcos because of all the suspensions handed down by the UL, which I thought was too much. Hasn't been able to play varsity football, and it's really hurt his recruitment. What if he shows up at a camp, or this spring shows up at a camp and tears it up? Yeah. They also have a linebacker, same thing at the San Marcos, that Georgia was looking at as a freshman when his colleges would come through there. A couple of kids like that. Those are. Hey, let's pop on Jermaine Bishop's juniors. This is not that guy, but while I look, let's have Rod watch Jermaine Bishop. I don't think you've seen Jermaine Bishop before. Jermaine Bishop Jr. is one of the top athletes in America, Rod. He is visiting on the June 20th for his official visit. Michael Bishop's nephew. He is a corner/return man/receiver who probably, if he ends up at Texas, will play corner and return man. He is, I call him a South Florida kid. He's 5'11", about 155 pounds. His growth is, but he's strong. He's wiry strong, but his physical maturity is going to come at the college level. But this kid's absolutely got some electricity in his game. And you hadn't seen him, so I wanted to throw him up there so you could watch him. As far as other guys like in Texas, I mean, those Christian Rhodes, the running back from Lake Highlands, committed to SMU. I think that's a great pickup for SMU. Texas just wasn't at the point of offering him a really good player, though that would be one that I think all the bigger schools maybe they circle back on at some point. That's a good one in state. But watch this play. Here's your play.
Man,
now has he hurdled somebody yet, or is that coming up? I mean, he goes full hurdle mode in a second. But I think those are my guys. I think if there's a Jaden Warren on the track is going to be interesting this spring. If he puts the numbers on the board people think he is, then people are going to have to take a second look at that guy.
Man.
This is the play.
Oh.
And back to full speed in a step and a half.
Yeah, his acceleration and his change of direction is freaky. I mean, his change of direction is wild.
So he's the guy that you say, I don't know what he's going to play. We just want him.
Yep, I agree with that.
We think he'll play corner, but we're not sure. We just want him.
Like you said, his body may mature into it's like, you know what? He may mature into a receiver or corner or safety. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Just let me have this because he's a physical kid for a 155 pounder. You see it there. Well, he is not contact averse. He's just really good at making people miss.
Yeah.
So he's a really good player. He's on that official visit list on June 20th. He was at January 20 Junior Day. I think Texas is in a pretty good spot for him right now. Of course, there's a lot of recruiting left to be had there against the Woodlands. But I just wanted to bring him up because Rod hadn't seen him. So wanted to bring that one up. We're also going to bring up Samuel Rosenborough here in a little while before we get out of the offensive tackle at Clearwater, Florida, who's also visiting June 20th, because I think Texas is in a pretty good spot for him.
All right. Thanks for that, Jared. As a matter of fact, after we hit this super chat from Z-Man, going to ask Jared to thank our friends over at South Point Dodge. But first, to hit Z-Man's super chat. Thank you, Z-Man. We appreciate it. Says, Guy, are you surprised Wingo's usage didn't increase as the season went on, especially with Bond out? He's as talented as Smith or Williams, in my opinion. Was it play calling or Quinn's comfort level? This is good. It really started that Vanderbilt game. Remember, he was like trending, and then they had that I don't know. It was like during his warm ups, he had like some collision, and I'm not saying that happened anything to do with, but there was a period where he kind of disappeared in the offense for a while. He was trending toward being by the end of the season close to being your number one guy, and then there was a time where he. I don't know, he just kind of disappeared within the passing game and then started to I think you started to see him really be showcased, I should say, toward the end of the season a little bit more. But that was kind of a gap. Right? During the season, we didn't see a lot of Wingo usage.
What was it, a freshman wall? I mean, you just don't know, right? But I think I look for him to have a big second year two. I think he's going to continue to be a better route seller as he evolves, continues to develop as a player. I also think what's going to help his skill set is back shoulder fade, more accurate deep ball. I think those are going to be things that help maximize his ability, because I think him and Arch are going to be maybe a better combo down the field than him and Quinn were, if that makes sense.
I agree with that,
because there was no back shoulder ball in the offense with Quinn.
No, the fade stop is something with Wingo that comes in the book with Arch.
Him, Lockett, Jamie French, all those guys. It's going to benefit those guys.
I thought Wingo, when he caught that 3rd and long against Oklahoma that helped break that game open offensively, I think it was like a 44-yard gain, 45-yard gain. I thought at that point, okay, Ryan Wingo's getting ready to blow up. And then, like you said, Rod, it didn't really happen from there.
Yeah. Like I said, it was right after that. It's like that little period. Thank you, Matthew, for pulling that up. That's why you're the best in the business. It was like a 5-game stretch where it just seems like they kind of got lost. Remember, Sark says this too. I love the Sark saying. He says, the ball naturally finds certain guys in my offense. Remember he said that? He said, it just naturally finds guys. Some guys, it's got to naturally fit within the passing game. Golden's one of those guys, right? It finds him. And then he said, for other guys, I gotta find ways to scheme them open to get them the football. And it seemed like it's like the ball was naturally finding Wingo at first within the offense, and then for some reason it did not. But I agree with Jerry. I think this is going to be a big year for him because I think physically he's your most gifted wide receiver when you put it all together. I think Sark believes that too, and he can beat one-on-ones and man-to-man coverage. That's what I think Sark believes. Is why he keeps taking those shots with him late in the game. And Sark's receivers, as good as they've been, that has actually been one of the I would think the points of criticism from scouts is that they haven't all shown they can beat man-to-man coverage consistently. That's why A.D. Mitchell was so important, right? A.D. Mitchell's like, oh, you got man-to-man on A.D. Mitchell while we double and bracket Xavier Worthy. He's going to eat you alive because he can consistently just beat man-to-man coverage. Matthew Golden showed it a little bit this year, too, that he could do that. And I think that's what NFL scouts are looking for. That's been one of the criticisms of some of the Sark receivers. Wingo can do that and be that guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry if I'm a Texas fan. I don't worry about it too much because you got to think, too, in terms of targets and usage. Gunnar Helm was a 50-catch guy. The backs got a lot of balls thrown to them. And with Blue, Golden, Bolden, Bond, Helm, with all those guys gone, that's a lot of targets that you got to replace. So, yeah, that target share is going to go up, no question.
Yep. We won't see it. I wonder if we'll go back to seeing somebody get targets like Xavier Worthy. Remember when he first got it, Xavier Worthy, it was like the entire passing game was just funneled through X-Men. You'll never get that again because it's too deep, but I do think you may get probably one of the higher usage or target rates for a receiver in a while because I do think he's going to be one of the main catalysts in the passing game. All right, thank you for that. All right, Jerry, would you do us all a favor and thank our friends over at South Point Dodge, please?
I will. Hey, Texas football fans, and there's many of you, score the extra point next season and this season, past season and next season when you get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge always has over 600 vehicles in stock, and their award-winning sales staff doesn't do games or gimmicks. They just get straight to the point by getting you the best deal. We call it over tackle, straight over tackle. Power run game. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Come see us off I-35 in South Austin or at southpointdodge.com. Get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge is Austin's automotive everything. If you're looking to sell your car, get to the South Point Dodge offer over the phone or online. Again, no games or gimmicks. Straight over tackle, baby. Power run game. Goal line.
Hey, that's what Longhorn fans want to hear next time.
They want to hear that.
Right.
South Point Dodge solves your red zone issues.
Oh, love it. Love it. All right, what we got here?
So, we have Samuel Rosenborough here. He is the right tackle for Clearwater High, a guy that Kyle Flood went to see the last week. He also plays a little D-line, but he's a right tackle. offensive tackle at the next level, but this shows his feet and his athleticism.
He was in a 2-point stance there.
Yeah. So here's the key with him, guys. The good kick setter. He's got quick feet. I love the reactive body quickness this guy's got. And he plays against good competition down there in that part of the Florida. They play against some athletes now. But here's the key thing with his recruitment. He came to a game this year in Austin. And some people might be like, why did he come to a game? His mom lives in Austin.
Ooh.
She relocated for work. He's staying at Clearwater. And we'll see. Does she remain in Austin for work? We'll see. I think the Texas staff hopes she does. But we'll see. Because he wanted to stay in Clearwater with his friends, everybody he grew up with, play with his high school team. He's scheduled to stay there through his senior year. He's also scheduled to be in June 20th for an official visit. I think Texas is doing pretty well with him. And again, as long as his mama is working in Austin, we'll see what happens. But I like this kid as a prospect a lot. He is ranked in the top 100 in the country by a lot of people, which I agree with his upside, all that skill set. He has got really good feet, Rod.
I like it. Yeah. Got good initial power too at the board of the track, but
he can really kick set. He can really pass pro.
I mean, I was impressed with him coming around the edge. That's wild. See a tackle playing edge. That's pretty wild. It's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. So that's that offensive line group with Max Wright committed. That's one out of what'll be a 5 or 6 man class. 2 more tackles. And a lot of people have asked, does Max Wright affect Texas at tackle? Now they want 2 more tackles. Because Max Wright, I think, is a swing player. I think he could be an either or. So Texas wants 2 more tackles. They want a couple of guards, and one of those guards could be a guard center, depending on how the dust settles with all the guys that are coming in for official visits. But Texas is in on a lot of really good players on the offensive line. Now it comes down to how are the pieces going to fit together. Sam Utu, the right tackle, offensive tackle / volleyball player at Orange Lutheran in Orange, California. If you haven't seen that go YouTube him, watch Sam Utu, watch him play some volleyball. He's not a libero. I'll tell you that. He's hitting the ball over the net. But then Cody Green, the Oregon commit from Mater Dei, visit. So offensive line recruiting, along with the other guys that you already know have official visits, is the net that's been cast is very, very talented in 26. Now he's got to bring it home.
All right, good stuff there, Jerry. Real quick, I want to read this tweet from Blake Gideon. We'll take one last question and get out of here. Blake Gideon tweeted this out. Not my style, but here it goes. This is his tweet. Most exciting and most difficult week of my career. Too many people to thank. Sark, PK, TJ, you're the best. My guys in the room. ... I love you. Keep setting your alarm. Keep stepping into the ring. Keep the standard. I love it.
Yeah,
it's the standard, man.
Look,
legend.
If Blake Gideon obviously wants to be a head coach in college football, and the only way to be a head coach is to go on and be a coordinator. And he turned down Mississippi State last year. We all know that, because I think that was a smart decision. But he is making the move to Georgia Tech. I think it's the right move. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. I think it's a team that has talent. You can win in the ACC. You know what the offensive identity is of that team. They're on solid ground with their coaching staff. I think if your ultimate goal is to be a head coach, I think it's a really good move by Blake Gideon, and happy for him, man.
I love Blake Gideon, man. His dream after being a professional football player was to be special forces, and apparently his shoulder injuries from football didn't allow him. Got discharged, I believe, from the Air Force, and then decided coaching is where I want to go. And now look at him, fast riser, man. He was going to be a success no matter what he did. Yeah. He's one of them dudes. He's one of those. So best of luck to Coach Gideon. That was a great message. All right, let's hit one question from David Keith Williams here. We'll get out of here and end our live stream. David Keith Williams, Farad, Mayo, and Jeff. Would you agree the foundation of Georgia's defense is linebacker first, then D tackle and D end, while UT's foundation is D tackle first, then the secondary and D end? Also, how important do you think it is for the linebacker position to become more of a focus of the UT defense? Thank you, David Keith Williams. Always has great questions. I think it's an interesting conversation to have about how we think the defense is going to look next year. What's going to be the strengths of the defense? Because he's right. When essentially, because I was actually, we'll talk about this on Football Theory. I was doing a little breakdown or just a study of coverages since PK has taken over as coordinator, and how the coverages have changed based on the influence. There was a Gary Patterson influence. He even said before that we were going toward being a match thirds team. Gary Patterson comes in and he started mastering match quarters. And then when Johnny Nansen comes in last year, I believe it was the first year, they had more single high looks than two high looks. And so I think coverage-wise, things are going to change a little bit. I just think you probably could go more to man coverage, what I think is going to be the next step. But in terms of what he's saying about the linebackers is, I think, important. Linebackers should be a strength this year. I don't know if D tackle is going to be a strength. I think you should base your, at least philosophy defensively, on what your strengths are. And the strengths next season for the defense should be what? Safety, edge, and linebacker. Right?
I think linebacker is going to be the most improved position in the program. On defense for sure, maybe in the program. And I'm going to stay on record with that. And that's nothing against the Benda in Blackwell who graduated. It's just a natural progression of the program. I think Brad Spence is a damn good football player with SEC size and allows more versatility with your linebacker group. It allows you to do more things with Anthony Hill. Hill, a junior, LaFau, a junior, Anthony Smith, a sophomore, Brad Spence is a transfer. That's four solid guys to start. Then you get to Elijah Barnes, who's 6'2", 240. Jeff, you saw him at the junior day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'll be a factor on special teams, probably get in the mix a little bit like Anthony Smith did. Then you have Jonathan Cunningham, who's in the Anthony Smith mold. I'm not saying he's be as good, but he's in that mold physically. See where he goes. But I think the linebacker position is going to be really improved because it has more versatility, size. Then you have Trey Moore, who can drop a little bit, right? But to David Keith Williams' point, it was D-line. I think it's D-line with Georgia and linebacker second. But I think their linebackers have been so good, especially last year, that it appeared that way.
Yeah. With Texas, Rod, I go back to that defense you were a part of in 2001 that was number 1 in the country in total defense. And, you come off a year where you lose Sean Rogers and Casey Hampton. And, you got Maurice Gordon playing defensive tackle at one point at like 250 pounds. Yeah. And you had 3 really good linebackers. Yeah, Everett Rawls, D.D. Lewis, and Tyrone Jones. I was like, well, I mean, Bull Reese's big problem is I got to get Derek Johnson on the field. Like, he's too good. I can't keep him on the sideline. So what do? All right, now we're an even front. Now we're going to be an odd front defense. And I know it's not that simple for some coaches, but hey, you got to get your best players on the field. If your best 11, if Anthony Smith or Brad Spence factor into your best 11, then your nickel package or your dime package or whatever, we mentioned it, Rod. Like Maurice Blackwell looked at one point like he was going to basically be like a dime linebacker, almost like if you think how Todd Orlando back in the day used that.
Why does that give you the shakes?
almost how they, as Jerry gathers himself, almost how they use that joker position, but basically like a dime linebacker. It looked like Blackwell was going to be that guy, and then he wasn't. Anthony Smith is perfect for that role. Mm-hmm. So, you can have your dime package or your nickel package on the field with 3 linebackers, knowing that if Anthony Smith has to cover, has a drop in coverage, or maybe if on a given snap, he's got to handle a number 3 receiver or a number 2 receiver, he can do it.
Yep. No, I like that. The malleability that you have with that group now because of your linebackers. Your linebackers should be a strength next year. Safety should be a strength. And I think your edges are going to be a strength. D tackle and corner, those are going to be your question marks until we find out more, in my opinion. And all right, thank you guys for all the super chats. Thank you guys for the questions. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He is the best in the business, the real MVP. Thank you to our sponsor as well, Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com, and South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com as well. Jerry, we appreciate all of your knowledge. Jeff, thank you for your time as well and all the nuggets you bring to the table. We will be doing, just to throw it out there, a Super Bowl halftime. We're going to do a halftime live stream. We understand everybody wants to watch Super Bowl. So first half, right? Matthew he's an Eagles fan. So Matthew, it depends. Matthew might be in a good mood depending on how that first half goes. Yeah. But we'll do it. So we'll do probably 30. It's like a 30-minute halftime show. So we'll probably do a 30, 35, 40-minute live stream on Sunday, right when halftime starts, and then we'll go a little bit into the third quarter, and then we'll let everybody go. So if you want to join us for the live stream on Texas Football, we're here for you. All right, so thank you guys. We appreciate it. And until next time, for Jeff, for Jerry, and for Matthew, hook 'em horns.